John, you got something to play for us?
Yeah, I play. I'll got that.
For us?
Yeah.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to John and Ben's Bacchanalia, coming at you hard.
Oh, boy.
This is our third episode.
We've got a special guest on tonight. Michael, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Michael. I'm the special guest.
Ben and I have both known Mike for many, many years now. He is a close personal friend and all-around beautiful human being with fluffy hair.
You know, we thought we just have him on the show. Well, I mean, I don't have any hair, but Mike's hair is really good. So, like, what do you use? No.
Yeah, what product are you using right now?
This is the podcast, huh?
Yeah, this is pretty much it. So we thought we'd have him on the show though, because like we just want to talk about some shit. So
and we want to get drunk with him. So you know,
he's a good person to get drunk with.
It's very true.
So
what are we drinking tonight, guys? We have a kind of a smorgasbord. Tonight, comparatively to what we've had in the past.
I mean, we got 16-ounce PBRs that I got for $5 for 6 of them. So.
I have a bottle of Jose Cuervo Tequila Gold that I brought here to have Ben and Mike drink because Jose Cuervo makes me sick. Because it's disgusting.
Well, why did you bring it?
For you guys to drink. Because someone bought it for me.
All right, okay.
Thanks, Joe. And we have Sky Infusion's Blood Orange, which is what I'm drinking currently, and it is very tasty. And
you would get blood orange rather than just orange.
I bought this for my mom, and then she was like, I don't like this. And so I was like, well, Mom, it has alcohol in it, so I'll like it. So then I'm drinking it now.
Here, I want to try it.
I was going to say, maybe we should all...
I'm quite drunk right now, actually, if you cannot tell. I am too drunk to drive, at the very least.
That's actually pretty good.
It is good.
Well, it's flavorful. In a fruity way, not in a vodka way.
Quick plug for
blood orange way.
For Sky. Sky with 2 Y's is actually one of my favorite vodka brands, guys. They actually infuse their vodka with real fruit and stuff, so it's not like a Smirnoff or something where they're just adding a bunch of like sugar syrup and like artificial candy flavorings to their vodka. Like there's real like blood orange flavoring in this vodka, and it's quite good.
So that's like a vodka man's vodka.
Indeed.
I don't even know what a vodka man is, but
and is a man who drinks a lot of vodka, so I guess I technically qualify as a vodka man.
I suppose. But all right, so we're here to talk about the new Muse album, Drones, and the new Courtney Barnett album. Sometimes I just sit and think. Sometimes I just sit. So
it's a great album title.
It really is a great album title, and it's a great album. Her first album, in fact.
Yeah, it's actually her debut.
So I guess we're going to start with Courtney Barnett, just since we're kind of talking here already about that. So Courtney Barnett is an Australian singer-songwriter. She is beautiful.
She's quite a cutie.
But she is lesbian, so... we have no chance.
All the better.
It just makes me want her more, as Michael would say.
He would say that.
Life is hard sometimes, guys. Not that we are not for LGBT rights, but sometimes life is hard.
Well, if you listen to her music, it's pretty great. So, and it makes my life less hard. So,
Yeah, no, this is actually like the type of album I've been looking for lately. Like, I'm normally pretty much like a hip hop guy, but like during the summer, I always like kind of want some like guitar-y, kind of like indie rock music, kind of jangly. And this album kind of scratched that itch for me, guys. Like, I'm really glad Mike suggested it. It's definitely like what I've been looking for right now.
A little peek into the lifestyle and musical taste of Michael McLaughlin. Big fan of rap. Big fan of Bob Dylan. There's something about crafty lyricism and rhyming that just gets to me, and especially wordiness. Courtney Barnett uses a lot of them, and every one of them is spectacular.
So are you a Decemberist fan, or...?
I wouldn't...
See, this is way better, though, because like rap, she piles a lot of the same syllables on top of each other. So you get this huge wall of awesome words.
Fair enough.
That all have like a similar sound or something. And Colin Malloy is just talking about some goofy thing that he thinks is really cool. like whether it's like English pop 50s records or like the accordion or something.
We
like
need to do a Decemberist episode sometimes so we can just shit on how awful a person Colin Malloy is.
I mean, he's not that awesome of a person. Just there's something about this music that's more visceral.
No, I said he was an awful person.
Well, I mean, he did write a children's book, though, which I think is pretty cool.
I read the children's book. It is fairly good, but it's very pretentious.
A pretentious
Yeah.
The main antagonist of the book is called the Dowager Governess.
Come on.
See, Colin Lloyd just likes neat things. Like, he's like, wow, that's really neat. I'm gonna write a song about it. A lot of the stuff on this Courtney Barnett album is just very... There are moments where she goes from, I guess, doing her thing to, like, telling something very personal, and the way they put that on is always really strategic, and it makes up some really nice songwriting. So,
like, one of our favorite tracks, like, I think universally among the three of us, was the track Aqua Profunda with an exclamation point.
Oh, yes.
Which is all about her, like, trying to impress this girl she sees on the beach. And she, like, swims out really deep and, like, goes under the water. And she almost drowns. And then when she, like, comes back to and she's been, like, resuscitated, like, the girl is gone. And she didn't impress her.
It's fantastic. She says that she much prefers swimming to jogging, and I can't disagree with her.
Swimming is much better than jogging.
yeah, I mean, there was a time when I used to swim regularly. It was pretty great. Like,
I'm sure that you were very aerodynamic then.
That's what someone actually told me that. My swim teacher was just like, yeah, I mean, you don't really have any hair. So it's like actually pretty great. Like there are some like professional swimmers that will like consider shaving like so that they can swim faster and things like that. So
One great thing about the song Aqua Profunda is that it's a very lighthearted song, very short. It's the perfect follow-up to a big, sad, in the end, almost cathartic, but not quite song, Depreston.
yeah, Depreston is a great song. Yeah,
It was a great song. I believe that one's about Courtney Barnett. She's like moving into this like house that she gets for really cheap, or like her speaker is. I don't know if it's like actually a real experience that she had. And like she finds that like this house was like owned by some old people who died very recently, and like there's like a picture of like a young man in Vietnam, like
in a van.
Yeah. She's very upfront about the fact that he's getting into a van in the picture. And like there's like a whole bar like in the shower, like to keep an old person from falling down.
And well, like as an example of the way she does her words, it's like a young man in a van in Vietnam is the way she like says it, and just like piling all the same sounds on top of each other is just really nice. So
yeah, no, it's a great album. I really liked it.
yeah, and there's like definitely like a Bob Dylan vibe going on there, but like I don't know. I don't feel equipped at this time to say how well she stacks up to Bob Dylan, but definitely the way that she arranges her songs and like the takes she does in a situation to me it's very Dylan-esque.
I don't feel like it's like really fair to compare her like on her debut to like Bob Dylan.
It's not fair to compare anyone to Bob Dylan, in my opinion, regardless of the number of album that it has been released. Fuck, those words are terrible. Anyway,
it's fine.
We're not going to cut this.
She, like Bob Dylan, is wordy, but she has this really bored delivery that while she's spilling out all these mundane facts, it's a mundane. That's a lyric of hers. It through the boring little bits of life, she kind of reveals a lot about herself and a lot about shared thoughts, shared experiences.
Yeah, and, like, don't think that the instrumentation is also mundane, because the way the songs are arranged, there's some nice, really intense guitar parts, almost Ramones-y. It's kind of punk at some parts, but she's still sort of talking in a monotone.
Yeah, it reminds me of a lot of kind of like a lot of like bands you've seen come out of the West Coast in the last couple of years.
Like Waves. You thought
Waves,
you said Waves. Yeah.
Fiddler, a little bit of Best Coast kind of stuff in there.
Yeah.
It's very Pacific.
Though I'm convinced that Best Coast and Waves are just the boy-girl equivalent of the same thing. they should totally just get married and like be like a duo or something.
Oh my God, Ben, I need that now.
Well, I mean, when I listen to both of them, just like this is just the boy-girl like
I don't
yin
know.
yang.
I don't know who the chubby Asian male guitarist in Best Coast is going to marry in Waves, though.
That's true. No, but there's a big bearded chubby bassist in Waves. So like,
Yeah, but
maybe
how do you know they're gay?
I'm just.
You're making a lot of really homophobic assumptions right now, Ben.
It's just a thought experiment. That's all it is, right? Thought experiments can go anywhere, right? So
It's true. It's true. But yeah, no. So, do you guys have anything else to say about this one, or?
you should definitely check it out. Don't sleep on it. I slept on it. Michael did not sleep on it. As
I
far
did
as I
not
know.
Yeah, I
Yes.
was sleeping on it too, and I very much thank Michael for waking me up to this fantastic little album.
Just standing over your bed with the jukebox, like, just listen to this, and then we woke up to it. So
One thing I do want to recommend, don't listen to this album on Spotify. Listen to it on YouTube. There's the full albums on YouTube with a little video that goes with it. And each track, there's a little hand-drawn picture of a different chair. I guess chairs are a big theme in this album.
Sometimes she's not thinking when she's sitting.
Exactly, and I really liked that, and I think it actually added a lot, the chairs in the video, you know.
There are different chairs. It made me think that many people spend their lives in chairs. So it usually depends on your job. So, but great album. Did you want to add anything, Michael?
Yeah, this is kind of the Discover.
What's everyone's favorite track?
Oh, I really like the Pedestrian at Best one, which is like the second one you showed me. The hook on it is actually really great. Let's see if I remember it. It's something about how, like, if you put her on a pedestal, she'll disappoint you. But if you say she's exceptional, she won't fail to exploit you. So, and I'm paraphrasing, but
Pedestrian at Best is a song about her achieving this fame that she really didn't expect coming in 2013, and her just positive that she's gonna fuck it up. And as of yet, she has not, and doesn't look like she's going to anytime soon.
My favorite tracks were probably the aforementioned Aqua Profunda, and then a song called Kim's Caravan. And I really like these songs because, again, one of the things I really like about this album is the kind of ocean feel to it. And I think those are two of the tracks that really hammer that home the most. With Aqua Profunda being about, again, her experience at this beach with this girl. And Kim's Caravan kind of being about her experience, like, as an Australian and, like, watching, like, corporate greed at some level and just kind of apathy, like, destroying the oceans around where she lives. It's not like a preachy track, but it still, like, has a message, and I like that.
yeah, was that the one where they talked about treating the coral reef like it was a whore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The coral reef has been raped because the dredges are treating it like a whore.
Yeah.
It's powerful and some pretty interesting imagery. I'm not going to say it's my favorite track, but one thing we haven't talked about is her sense of humor, and that can be best seen on the track appropriately titled "Nobody Really Cares If You Don't Go to the Party."
I forgot about that one. I love that track. That's a great track.
The hook being, I want to go out, but I want to stay home.
I think that's an experience we can all empathize with.
An eternal struggle that you face, especially as you get into your 20s.
Yep.
Us old people.
Well, I mean, when you're in high school, you of course want to go to every party you possibly can go to. So,
But once you're at the ripe old age of 26, like Courtney is, you're just too tired and too weary. Also, she's a well-known introvert, so.
Well, you know, maybe you guys are going to get old and boring and stop wanting to go to parties. I'm going to keep partying till the day I die.
And that's great, John. No one cares.
I care.
That's all that matters.
I'm gonna call you guys. I'm gonna be like 67, and I'm gonna be like at some fucking rager at like University of Florida, and I'm gonna be like, "Hey Ben, what's up?"
And I'll be, since I'm 67, I'll be in like a retirement home because my diabetes has got out of control, and so I'll just be like, John, I wish I was there.
I think I'll decide that I'll be around 52 at that time, and I'll be doing great. No retirement home for me.
I don't know how you're going to manage being 15 years younger than you are right now, Michael.
It's in the hair. I'll probably have hair that's like 15 years younger.
Yeah, I
thinks
don't
so
see this hair staying with me that long, but we'll see.
Well, all right. So we also listened to the new Muse album, Drones.
Wait, guys, I want to take a second out here to commemorate the fact that this is probably going to be our first not positive review on this podcast.
I wasn't a fan. Neither was John. Neither was Michael. So
this is not a great album, guys.
And like Michael was just dropped in on it too. Like we didn't tell him. So. What can you say except groan?
I'm going to be totally honest, guys. We kind of picked this album because we knew it wasn't going to be that good.
Well, which is funny because in high school I loved Muse. Muse was amazing. They were dramatic. They were heavy. Before I listened to Muse, all I was listening to was like classic rock, so music that wasn't even remotely current. And then Muse was like sort of current, but not really. The first Muse song I heard was actually not by Muse. The band that was playing in the band room in my high school was covering a Muse song.
Was that our good old Morning Dew Drive?
No, actually.
Okay,
but they did cover it later.
They did.
Yeah. It was actually these two twin brothers that I knew from grade school that were trying to... They're actually in a band now. Yeah, the McCabe's. Bantam Foxes. You should check them out. They're pretty great. But they were actually covering it, and I was just a freshman who didn't know any better, and I heard it, and I was like, this is amazing. But this album is not amazing.
This album is not
Now,
amazing.
What's the title of that song about with that wonderful sample of the military movie?
Oh my gosh. That was the song Psycho. I'm going to just sum this album up for you guys real quick, guys. Muse is telling you the government is bad. The military is bad. They're trying to control you.
Yeah, all you really need to do is look at the album cover where a man has a head for a joystick and he's manipulating...
A joystick for a head.
Well, yeah, a joystick for a head and he's manipulating a joystick, and then somebody else who's not even on the cover is also manipulating his head, which is a joystick. So it's like this dumb, repeated image. And you're just like, oh my god.
This whole album, the essential message of this album is, wake up, sheeple. You are being controlled. Yeah, no, and it doesn't really work because, again, I was telling Ben about this, if this album's about, rebellion, this is the cleanest, most, corporate rebellion I've ever heard. There's nothing dirty about this album. There's nothing edgy about this album or even, experimental. This is,
These are also themes that Muse has been doing before.
Yeah.
In high school, I actually bought a copy of The Resistance, which somebody gave Matthew Bellamy George Orwell to read, and Matthew Bellamy thought this was oh man, this is the best. So there's all these themes of people just fighting this huge machine and finding love, because that always works out like that. But anyway, no, it's really... There's a lot of dumbness to it. In fact, the intro before that song is just a sample from a military movie, and that's just called Drill Sergeant. It's just a dumb intro.
I don't know if it's from a movie or not. I almost want to say that it was just they probably recorded that for this album.
Yeah, they might have. At first I was thinking Full Metal Jacket, and then it was just shittier.
It's Full Metal Jacket-esque. That's what they were. That's what they were going for. But again, it's Matthew Bellamy's never been in the military.
And since Matthew Bellamy also really likes Queen, it comes across as kind of homoerotic, because at one point in the intro, I think it's Psycho, the drill sergeant says, "Remember, I own your ass." And when he says it, you're like, oh shit, he does, I'm just a tool. But then Matthew Bellamy...
part of the system, man.
But when Matthew Bellamy sings it really dramatically, it just comes across being really gay. So, and it's like it's kind of funny. So I mean, and like they could have totally explored that area, like, because Matthew Bellamy's a smart guy. Like, Muse is a smart band, but instead they just play it straight all the way, and it just comes across being absolutely ridiculous. And so
it's just like, again, it's like I can't take them seriously, like, as a rebellious group. It's like they're like in their like mid 30s, early 40s, like they're millionaires, like. They're a bunch of white dudes from Britain who probably never had, like, any serious, like, societal oppression on them. And, like, they're just singing about, like, how oppressed they are because they aren't free. But they never really go into why they're not free.
Well, I mean, that's right. You don't get number 4 on the UK album charts being really specific, right? So, they're smart, right? But, yeah, they don't, it's not, there's no way... I don't know. Just they're a big name act, and like they were kind of big name when I was into them, and they've just gotten bigger. And so like I don't know. It was a typical Muse album, and there's like there's a 10-minute song on there where they had a 10-minute song on their last album where they worked into dubstep sounds, and even then it was late. Dubstep was already over. So like I haven't actually listened to the 10-minute track because on Spotify for free it doesn't actually play. Like, you have to get premium to hear this 10-minute whatever symphony, because, like, they used to do that. So, anyway, I don't even know what sounds they're incorporating. But to me, it was typical Muse, and I've just kind of outgrown it, honestly. I mean,
as per unofficial friend of the show, Anthony Fantano, it's a bad track.
Right. I'm also a fanboy, but I try to listen to his stuff after I do this. So, but you know, that's right, John. I'm also a fanboy, so I'm in there with you anyway. So,
I just wanted to like add some kind of criticism of the song since we can't actually criticize it.
I mean, I was criticized.
When I mean criticism, I just mean we can't really talk about it because we didn't listen to it.
Well, we had. Michael has been silent. Michael knows that we've had it on. What does Michael think
of
Muse, just in general? This song in particular we're talking about, it was Psycho. We just riffed on it.
This is your first Muse album, right?
This is my first Muse album. It occasionally seemed like a cheap White Stripes with lamer topics thrown on top of it. The riff on Psycho was just flat out dumb.
I felt like for a lot of this album they were trying to like riff on like Queens of the Stone Age at some level.
Well, I mean, Bellamy's too geeky of a soloist to be Queens of the Stone Age.
I mean, like
honestly.
in terms of like the riffs and stuff.
I don't think so. But
if you disagree, that's fine. I'm just like that's just how I felt.
Yeah, but I mean, still, Bellamy's solos like. If Bellamy can tap on a solo, then he will do it, and he does it at one point, like a couple times during this. And but his tapping is never difficult because, as I read somewhere on the internet, one of the reasons that this person thinks Muse is so popular is that any 15-year-old can play a solo on his guitar of Muse. But on this particular track, he just solos longer. Like there's lots of long stretches of Bellamy soloing, and it sounds to me the same, but I mean, I'm not a guitar person myself, so I can't honestly say for sure. But it just seemed like Bellamy doing somewhat complicated, but ultimately really cool sounding soloing. So
I like the solo too. It went on way longer than it had any business going on, but it's kind of nice after a while.
Right.
I mean, technically, this album is pretty good in my opinion. I'm not like a super like skilled. I don't know a lot about like the technical stuff that goes behind music, but the themes are just so juvenile and like this is like Linkin Park level like critique of society, like
right.
And I just can't get past that.
It doesn't say anything that hasn't been said before by far too many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like again, as I said, you don't get fourth on the Billboard chart in the UK if you're going to be specific. Like, you have to be pretty damn good for that. So, and even then, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people bought this that are probably also high school age. And I just feel like Muse just plays that demographic really well. And
yeah, I feel like it's one of those things, like, when you're, like, 15 years old, like, you're a white kid, like, you feel like society's like fucked up, but you can't really say why because you're not really oppressed, but you know there's oppression out there. I feel like Muse speaks to that feeling.
Yeah.
But hey, let's not assume that what Muse is talking about isn't a big deal. Because it is. They're just bad at talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it is called drones. Like, which, you know, like, if you're not thinking about that's been a thing for a while now, so.
I just find it weird. They're a British band talking about drones, which is very much like an American thing. Like,
Yeah.
American foreign policy
Yeah.
is...
Especially Obama. Yeah.
Yeah.
so, you guys have anything else you want to say about this album?
If you liked Muse in high school, you should just give it a listen just to see where they're at. But I mean, don't go out of your way.
Yeah.
So.
If you're not a Muse fan, like I'm not really a Muse fan, don't bother. Like you'll just be bored. Check something else out.
Except the last track was strangely intriguing. We had a lot of choral.
There were no
church-sounding
drums.
stuff.
Yeah, no drums, no guitar. It was all a cappella. And
It was
there
very operatic.
Yeah, and very churchy as well.
And did not fit in with the rest of the album at all.
Which is why it was so strangely intriguing.
Exactly.
I still didn't like it. I felt like it was trying way too hard.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, like, Bellami's classically trained as a musician. So, like, I feel like on that track he was just, like, you know, spreading his classically trained wings. like, finally. Because on The Resistance, there's, like, this one really complicated piano part. Which actually, I didn't listen to the 10-minute track, but there wasn't a whole lot of keyboards on this, which is interesting, because Muse really does like their keyboards, because Bellamy is a classically trained
there were quite a
pianist,
few vocoder bits, especially towards the middle of this album, I think.
True, but we need to find this 10-minute track and listen to it. It's called The Globalist, but again, Spotify free. I guess Muse is in bed with Spotify free, so I wonder how much of a kickback they got. So,
It's not on YouTube either. Like, all the tracks we could find on YouTube have been taken down for copyright infringement.
right. That's probably the Spotify people doing
I mean,
it
yeah,
too.
but it's like Muse talking about, like, man, you're oppressed. Like,
Yeah.
take back your freedom, but we're not going to give you this 10-minute track because you're not paying for it.
Exactly, yeah, and it's probably not even that good. So I just want to, but yeah, whatever. Listen to Drones if you want to.
Listen to Courtney Blanchett
Yeah.
instead.
Courtney Barnett.
Barnett,
Yes.
my bad. I'm very drunk.
Sometimes I just sit and think. Sometimes I just sit.
Check that one out, not this.
And I think we're going to be back after these announcements with somewhat of a weekly roundup. So we'll be back after this.
All right, guys, it's time for a new segment on John and Ben's Bacchanalia. We know that we're 3 episodes in, so like this is going to be a huge change for you guys. It's probably going to make you really uncomfortable.
A big change up.
But we don't care, because fuck y'all. Anyway, this game is
John.
Antagonizing.
Viewers like to be antagonized because they're weak. You're weak, viewers. Anyway, this segment is called...
Weekly viewers.
We're calling the segment the Big Hat of Topics. We don't have a hat right now, but we have a bunch of topics that we've written on paper, and they're in like the dish of some kind.
It's where I keep my fish when I'm cleaning the fish bowl.
And basically, we're going to each draw one of these, and we're going to just have a conversation about it.
But if you stutter while you're talking about it, well, first you have to yell it out when you get it. And then if you stutter, you have to take a drink. So
it's going to be fun.
I feel like you guys should have a little audio clip of Billy Madison. Today, Junior. Terrible tacky radio show.
We need to like get some tacky radio show like clips to put into this shit.
that'd be pretty great.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Crazy Ira and the douche.
Also, I just want segments from the G.I. Joe PSAs. Have you ever said, "Stop all the downloading"?
Hey kids, I'm a computer.
Stop all the downloading.
And now we know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe!
And Ben with the first topic.
The persistence of desire. So I made this one. It's the title of a John Updike short story where he goes to visit I guess it's the person who examines your eyes, and I can't think of it.
optometrist?
Yes, the optometrist.
You should know that. You go to UMSL. They're all about optometry.
You should also know that because you wrote that down.
That's
Right,
also
it's
true.
And I think I need to take a drink.
Yeah.
No, but,
Well, you have to take a drink of tequila
all right, fine.
because I don't want to run out of vodka too fast.
But before I take a shot, I stuttered. I have to take a drink. Anyway, it's a good short story. You should check it out. He goes to visit the eye doctor, and then he sees this girl that he used to be with in high school in the waiting room. And then eventually they make out, and then she leaves. And then he thinks about her, even though he's married. And then the story ends. But it's really well written. So, all right, here's my shot. Who's next?
I vote Mike.
I accept. Rick and Morty. So far, we've all picked our own our own topics, but I'm glad I got this one. Rick and Morty, wonderful show. If you haven't seen it, it's a cartoon about an old man, grandpa scientist who hangs out with a young boy who may or may not, be a little bit off.
And the granddad is a mad scientist who is an extreme alcoholic.
It's basically what I'm going to be when I'm like 70 years old, except instead of a scientist, I'm going to be a theologian, but I'm going to be really drunk the same way.
The way I see it is it's a great nihilistic convergence of Bob's Burgers and Archer.
That's so true.
It's got its touching
Is John
little...
Hodgman in that?
He isn't, but...
Oh, well, okay, I was curious. He's in both those other shows. Sorry. I apologize.
Wonderful show, very funny. It's got the touching moment every now and then, but that doesn't stop it from just pummeling you with life is meaningless and you should just be watching TV.
Yeah, you just need to watch it. That's all I have to say.
All right, guys, it's John's turn, which
Well,
means...
before John goes,
Okay.
I have a new rule. We should try not to interrupt the person who's going, and they have to give a succinct description that has an ending.
Okay.
And then it's the next person's turn.
Anyway, as I was saying, it's John's turn, so it's the best turn. All right. My topic is... Wait, this one's kind of wet for some reason.
I do keep my fish in this hat. I mean, it's really this bowl. It's not really a hat.
All right, my topic is Boogie Nights.
Go.
Boogie Nights is a movie, I believe, from the 70s. Is it the one that has John Travolta in it, where he's like a disco dancer?
No, that's
Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, that's Saturday Night Fever. That's not Boogie Nights.
I don't know. I haven't seen Boogie Nights.
All right, you have to
Someone
take
tell
a-
me about Boogie Nights.
Well, you have to take a drink first, and then
I didn't stutter.
all right.
But you failed
Yeah.
to describe that.
Fine. Fuck you guys.
Ben, what do you have to say about Boogie Nights?
Boogie Nights is amazing. Paul Thomas Anderson, one of his early films, starring Mark Wahlberg, it chronicles the porn industry in LA throughout the 70s and the 80s. And the first act in the 70s is idealistic, it's awesome, there's lots of hope, it's sexy. And in the 80s, things just go terribly downhill. Everything is commodified, there is just jadedness, and people try to work out the plans, the characters that you've met in the 70s, try to get these plans for their lives that it doesn't look like they're going to work out, but they do work out in the end. But it goes through a very dark part in the beginning of the second act, which is set in the 80s. Anyway, it's a great film. You should all watch it if you like Paul Thomas Anderson. He also directed There Will Be Blood and The Master, as well as Punch Drunk Love. So,
I will say it is not Mark Wahlberg's best movie, which is Transformers 4... Age of Extinction, which you have not seen, is on Amazon Prime Instant Video right now. Go watch it. We're going to talk about that at a later date. Sorry.
I don't agree with you, but Michael was going to say something so, about Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights, stylistically, I found a lot. It seemed to be very similar to a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies. It even looked like they reused the set from Dusk Till Dawn for the nightclub.
Yeah, there's an opening scene in a nightclub, and I'm pretty sure they did reuse the set from Dusk Till Dawn. But
And the final scene is basically just a parody of Al Pacino at the end of
what?
Raging Bull.
Okay.
Talking to the mirror. Could have been a contender. That's not an Al Pacino voice.
No, that's no.
But he is. Mark Wahlberg is talking to the mirror and psyching himself up, but it's not as like pathos fueled as I could have been a contender.
Or as pathos fueled as his scenes in Transformers 4: Age of Extinction.
And dare I say, also I could have been a contender is from On the Waterfront with
Yeah, I was about to say I don't
Marlon
know,
Brando.
think
but
that's
it's quoted in Raging Bull during that scene.
okay.
but that's what it's from though. Yeah,
So it's a quote of a quote.
Quote of a quote in a great scene that gets parodied on Boogie Nights, and it's just as good. Not just as good, but it's good.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I should have dried this thing out, but I guess it's my turn.
Yeah,
so.
all these, in case you're wondering what's happening at home, all these little pieces of paper are sticking to the sides of the quote-unquote hat.
I'll bring a hat next week.
This is a good idea for a segment, though.
It is. I'm
All
enjoying
right.
this.
Absol's verse.
I wrote that one. It's Absol's verse in Chance the Rapper's song "Smoke Again," which we were talking about earlier because it's a terrible, terrible verse.
But it's also hilarious. I gave a mixtape with this song on it to a bunch of friends of mine, most of them girls, and they all loved this verse for some reason. And you just need to listen to it because it's hilarious. And I think in the song, which is a party song, it's supposed to be a party verse. And I can't do many of the lines, but at one point he talks about...
What does he talk about then?
He wants to put his mouth where you potty, boo. And that was all the part that the girls all loved. And I remember on YouTube, at one point, one of the commenters was... Someone said, Absol needs to retake sex therapy because he doesn't know where the vagina is. And somebody commented, y'all know nothing about eating ass. And that got like 100 likes.
I deserved 100 likes.
But
And 100
I still
more.
don't know if that's what he was referring to in that song.
And by the way, in case you're wondering, Ben, by saying, I want to kiss you where you potty, boo, is not throwing a euphemism in there. Those are the words.
Those are literally the words in
Yes.
the song. There's also some references to soccer teams and potty training.
yeah.
Twice he uses the word potty.
yeah.
Well,
on,
one
Absol.
is saying that people need to be potty trained, and the other one is a potty train, which is apparently some kind of like, I don't know, sex act or like an actual like train of people going to the bathroom.
Absol repeats many of the same words on this verse, which is why it's so incredibly dumb, but it's also kind of amazing. So
For all you up-and-coming rappers out there, if you're going to be repeating words in a verse, it should not be the word potty.
Or train, honestly.
Anyway, Absol comes across looking like an idiot, but it's a pretty good, it's an entertaining verse.
It's entertaining in that it matches the ridiculousness of the giant hook, which is...
I don't know, something about bitch, let's fuck so we can smoke again. I gotta smoke again. I got shit to do.
It reminds me a little bit of Members Only, in parentheses, Blow My High, off of Kendrick's first album. Excellent song. Look it up right now. Pause this podcast. a shot right now.
We're all back post-shot, guys,
Ah,
and
yes.
now it is Mike's turn again.
Okay. What do we got?
You grab
this,
two.
This wet hat. I pick authenticity. I guess I'll drink wet. What do you want me to say about that?
I don't know.
Not only is authenticity good, but it's necessary.
Is authenticity really good? Why does authenticity matter?
What can authenticity do for you?
What does authenticity even mean?
Subscribe now to our 1-800
No.
1-800-AU.
Seriously,
TH.
authenticity is just a buzzword. Like, what does it even mean? Why does it matter, Ben?
Yeah, well, Drakey is the most authentic
You're stuttering
rapper.
right now.
This rule is dumb, but
You're the one who made the rule.
well, I visualized it playing out.
For that, you're drinking tequila.
Well, I visualized it playing out better in my mind. So
We'll take a shot of tequila anyway. 'Cause you
Wait,
still made the rule.
finish that thought because I didn't know where it was going to go.
I think in Drake's most recent mixtape, or he billed it as a mixtape, it's essentially an album. If you're reading this, it's too late. Drake sets about to make himself the most authentic Drake there is. And he, like, it makes sense. He owns his persona. And the reason that I put authenticity in the hat is I feel like if you're good enough at what you do, whatever it is that you do, if you're the truest to yourself that you're doing, then you're obviously going to succeed.
But what if yourself is really lame?
I think Drake sounds really lame if you're reading this is too late. But it's also amazing because it's Drake. At one point, like Drake's complaining, and I'm just like, "Shut the fuck up, Drake." I assume he's being the most authentic.
Like the Sunry's complaining about like how he had to borrow his uncle's car, and like that's why it means that he struggled.
right? Or like he's riding through the six with his woes. Like, yeah. Okay,
Well, to be fair, when he's talking about riding through the six with his woes, woe is short for woody. It's New Orleans slang for someone who lives in the same ward as you.
Yeah, it's
same woad.
Yeah, it's not what a lot
It's
of
not.
people think.
He's not riding through with his sadnesses.
Yeah, I mean,
Although,
I'm sure Drake also
knowing
does
Drake,
that.
there will be plenty of sadness with him and his woes.
Probably having to do with something with Nicki Minaj or Rihanna.
And well, the reason, and also he said the way he says woes, he doesn't say like he says it really desperately.
Six with my woes.
I think he sounds desperate. So I don't think he sounds confident.
I think he sounds very confident in that.
All right, I'll give it to Ben on this one. I get what he's saying, even if I don't necessarily agree.
On authenticity?
Authenticity and Drake.
I guess it works for Drake, but does it work for you, viewers? Subscribe now to 1-800-AU, and you will find out. So.
Seriously, though, guys, give us your thoughts on what you think about what we talk about, because we want to hear what you guys think. Like, I know it's usually just me and Ben fucking just shooting the shit, but we want to know what you guys think. We want to know how you feel. Love us.
We want to know how you feel so long as it's good. We don't want criticism.
I mean, even if it's bad, I'll ignore it if it's bad, but you can totally, comment that, because I'll just take the fact that you're commenting to mean that you listened.
Just tell us how you feel. That's all I ask. This is Ben asking. Just tell us how you really feel, and that's all I want. So
Let us know what you think of Mike on the podcast. Maybe we'll bring him back for some more episodes.
I don't live in St. Louis. They probably won't bring me back.
I mean, Skype is a thing, and it's not that hard to figure out.
well, thank you for tuning in. Especially
No,
to
we're
this
not
last-
done yet.
We're not done. It
No,
sounds
we
like
still
we're
have all
done.
these topics.
What?
No, we're not done.
All right.
No, it's my turn.
There's 3 left.
No,
and-
there aren't. There are 5 left. I want to keep going.
All right, John.
Oh man, this one has a lot of little words on it. When is Kanye gonna drop his fucking album? I'm assuming this one was Mike. Me and
Yeah.
Mike were talking about this earlier. Seriously, I am a Kanye fan, and even I'm getting mad about how long it's taken for fucking... Is it Swish now?
It's Swish now.
Yeah.
In case you're late to the game, Kanye is... 1 year ago, he is releasing it in October. No, September, maybe October. November at the latest.
In the
God damn it.
nebulous time that was Yeezy season, which was, as of Yeezus approaching,
It's still approaching.
is still approaching.
It's still approaching. I don't think it has as much hype as he wants it to have.
No, it really doesn't, because he's taken so damn long.
Yeah,
What if he drops it surprise?
that's what everyone's doing.
I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
be surprising then, because everybody's doing that.
In fact, he has announced that he will be doing one of those surprise releases. So,
Surprise!
surprise!
surprise, it's going to be
Kanye.
on some Tuesday. Actually, they're changing the Universal release date to Friday, sometime in July.
Yeah. Have you guys listened to the tracks off Swish yet? All
I
Day,
have.
anything like that?
Yeah,
What do you
Day,
think so far,
Wolves.
Mike?
So far, Kanye's favorite song, I believe, is Only One. That is him singing pretty auto-tuned while Paul McCartney strums along on the guitar. Kanye's not a great vocalist. Never has been. Always has wanted to be. He loves this song. It's important to him about his mother and his daughter and familial love. At heart, it's beautiful. In practice, not that engaging. All Day, however, is a classic banger, and I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, on if you read the press release for Only One, the press release says he's like channeling his dead mother's spirit or something. And I'm not sure if it works, but All Day definitely works because it's Kanye. And so
Yeah. I just tracked with Rihanna a couple months ago.
4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah, 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I really like that track. That was a good track. I think it's technically a Rihanna track.
It's a Rihanna track. It's going to be off of Rihanna's new album, which she has said is truer to herself, i.e., super authentic than anything she's released before. And in case you haven't heard that, 4 or 5 seconds is this kind of weird pop country soul song where Kanye and Rihanna trade verses. It's pretty nice. Very pleasant.
Got Paul McCartney jamming in the background. It's fun.
the music video is pretty great too because the camera is pretty up close on everyone, and like it's the fact that it's up close on their faces is pretty great. And like at one point, Rihanna starts, I think, tearing up, and then she like rolls her eyes at one point. It's
That is the best part of the video.
No, I mean,
It's hard to describe.
Kanye's just kind of throws his arms out,
yeah.
Kanye.
just punches the air,
And then Paul McCartney is just there, so
jam on the acoustic guitar.
He's just as happy and go lucky as ever.
I mean, I honestly think he's been underused on the songs we've seen so far, but maybe his presence is just enough. So
Possibly.
I'm not sure.
I, as someone who's always suspicious of an aging rock star coming out and doing some new fun collaboration, I think the minimal use of Paul just with the guitar is refreshing.
Yeah. Who's
Yeah.
next? I think it's your turn, Ben.
All right. Psychedelic music. So, I'm sure many of you are fans of Tame Impala. They're putting out a new album. It's coming out in July. And the point I want to say about it is I feel like psychedelic music now that's popular is essentially one man in his bedroom with his studio just making it. And then he brings it to a live band, and they, of course, perform it live across the country. But a lot of the most popular psychedelic music now is essentially one person's vision, and then he is very good at the studio, and he manipulates it to his will, adds the, I guess you could call it psychedelic filter to it, though I feel at this point it doesn't really mean anything. For instance, the new Unknown Mortal Orchestra album is psychedelic just because I think the way he warps his vocals. And if you listen to Lonerism, which is the big Tame Impala album, I forget when it came out exactly. It came out a while ago. Anyway, that song is it's essentially a widescreen epic, that entire album. The first couple of songs, there's like a movement, things change, and then he like gives you the singles later.
I think that the modern definition of psychedelia is anything that makes high schoolers think that they know what being on acid feels like.
I'm going to agree with John there. And that is what both Tame Impala and Unknown Mortal Orchestra will do for the high schoolers out there. One thing that I think is interesting, though, about those two quote-unquote bands, individual artists with pals to help them out, is the use of almost disco elements that they've been throwing in there.
Yeah,
There's a lot of high-pitched vocals, which you see with Prince and many others, and it's really nice, and a lot of danceable tunes.
For sure. So the new Tame Impala stuff, I don't know if you've heard it, but there's this big single, it's called 'Cause I'm a Man, and it's this huge 80s just soft rock epic. And it's pretty good. It took me a while to come around to it, but it's so 80s that originally I was just like, I don't want any of this. Like, this is dumb. But
You don't have enough respect for the 80s, Ben.
well, yeah, they were a weird time for everyone. So
They were a magical time for everyone.
My favorite elements of 80s music, that falsetto, that danciness, is coming back in a big way throughout the musical landscape nowadays.
Yeah.
also the horn section as well.
This is very true.
We're mentioning an 80s revival right now, and I dig it.
I dig it as well.
Yeah, but what does that mean, though? Does that mean everything is going to be circuitrol from now on?
I think that might be something we're dealing with now that the internet has made essentially individual and new thoughts obsolete.
And this is actually something Ben and I were talking about earlier. In my opinion, the best music always comes from a scene. We were talking about how Kurt Cobain, Nirvana, while a punk at heart, comes from the grunge scene. A lot of the best music right now is rap and hip hop.
Yeah.
It's a scene. A lot of white rock stars these days aren't in this kind of scene that they used to be, maybe associated with, and they're taking all these influences, making some often interesting stuff, but ultimately I don't think as passionate as important.
I mean, it's at some level masturbatory. It's I liked this stuff when I was a kid, so now I'm gonna make music like it. But it's not really new or interesting.
And this is opposed to the scene, where it's, I guess you say, the most authentic, because that's what you're part of.
At least until the scene becomes more about clothes than it does about music, which is the inevitable death of all scenes.
Yeah, if you haven't been to the website, Your Scene Sucks, you should totally go to this website. Somebody illustrated many of the scenes that were going on at the time. This was, I don't know how current it is.
Kind of mid-2000s.
Yeah, it was circa mid-2000s, but there was the post-rock person who wears a lot of black and has a tattoo on his arm, and he's always looks for the first exit in the room. And then there's the 2000s Nintendo Core scene where it's
oh boy,
it's really into wears a lot of Dayglow and cut off rainbow t-shirts. Anyway, it's a great website, you should check it out, but I feel like it captures that perfectly. So
all right, Mike, your turn.
All right, we got the old give John a compliment. Shit, I have to drink.
Come on, Michael. We've known each other for 9 years at this point.
My favorite thing about John, which will end up being a compliment, is
You're hurting my feelings here, bro.
John, I like your well curated aesthetic. because it is a perfect exemplification of what we were just talking about. A lack of a scene. It's just a conglomeration of all these different opinions and stuff of other people dumped onto a poor millennial soul. And
then also dumped onto it is a lot of alcohol. So,
I'm not even offended right now.
Then the entire thing is set aflame.
It's true, guys. I'm not even gonna pretend that it's not true.
Yeah, before we came up with this idea for a segment, I was worried this was going to play out like a scene from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and now it has. So, if you've ever seen Charlie McDennis, you should totally watch that. But
all right, guys, it's my turn now.
we got two more in the hat.
Two more in the hat.
That wet hat.
All right, I have Young Thug,
Yes.
and my opinion on Young Thug is I'm losing If you're not familiar with Young Thug, that's what listening to Young Thug music kind of sounds like sometimes.
Young Thug spawns from the Atlanta hip hop scene right now, which is a heavily auto-tuned group, much influenced by Lil Wayne. We got T.I., I believe.
T.I. is Atlanta, yeah.
T-Pain.
Yeah.
Young Thug, of course. Future. There's a lot of autotune, a lot of singing.
He's kind of weird from the
rapping.
standpoint that he's coming out of Atlanta, but he's not trap, which is definitely kind of out of the norm right now.
Well, because I've only heard him. He was actually on a Jamie XX song called "I Know There's Gonna Be Good Times."
An excellent track.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So that's all I've heard from Young Thug.
That is, if you listen to nothing else this summer, it should be that one song. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, but is he is he a good rapper, or is he more? See,
that's $1 million question.
Yep.
What is what Young Thug is doing right now worthwhile? For me, the appeal of Young Thug is just this weirdness, this total otherness that I, middle class white person, can just barely relate to in even the most slight way. But it's just intriguing. I love it.
The best word for Young Thug is intriguing.
Young Thug has quite the personality on him. He's got this weird gender bending kind of is he gay? Is it all an act? What?
Is it just a dude who just likes wearing kind of girly clothing for whatever reason?
Refers to his homies as boo or bae or
Wait,
lover.
His home? Is his house that he lives in?
His homies, his
his
pals.
homies. Okay, so it's kind
his
of
bros.
He reminds me a little bit of if anybody's a Boondocks fan here, but Gangstalicious.
Sure.
I don't
know
Has anyone here seen the Boondocks?
I have not seen the Boondocks.
You need to see at least this episode because Gangstalicious is this very clearly gay rapper who but he's a rapper, so nobody thinks he's gay.
Something Andre 3000 dealt with. Something that Young Thug is definitely dealing with. Excellent music, though. I'm a big fan. You're going to listen to it the first time and think that is gibberish. He's not actually saying words. Listen to it 4 more times, and you'll find that the words are stupid but wonderful.
That was what I was trying to get across in my gibberish segment right there.
It sounds pretty good.
I thought so. I think I'm pretty talented. I think it's been with the last one.
All right. Automaton.
I think it's automation. The conversation we were having earlier with the robots.
Yes, viewers, in case you haven't gathered, this is not entirely random. We were having a conversation about the automation of jobs in the near future, where many, many blue-collar jobs will be automated, and the labor market, as you know it, as we know it, may shift. So, I don't have all the facts on that, but it seemed to me extremely intriguing. So,
basically, we can all hope for a future where robots do all the jobs, and we just get to sit around fucking eating chocolates and, I don't know, fucking watching TV. That's what I'm hoping for.
I feel like I would just go into a downward spiral of depression after
you could then Ben is one of the very few people in the world who actually wants to work, and you could work. But I'm going to be enjoying eating chocolate and watching TV.
Let me tell you how it'll actually happen is we will not be seeing any of the benefits of the jobs. If the jobs not existing anymore, there will be a few rich people that are just loving it, and a lot of us that are wondering why we can't just ask for this food instead of pressing a button.
I mean, I think that the automation of the job market is what is going to lead to the inevitable Marxist revolution of the working class.
Okay.
Yeah, but the question is when this will happen.
I mean,
ultimately.
I think it's a matter of when there are enough robots in the job market that the unemployment rate reaches a tipping point. Because, like, I think at the moment there are enough people working that they don't really care about the people who aren't working. Because, like, right now it's about, like, 1 in every 10 people is unemployed. But, like, once we get to, like, 3 out of every 10 people are unemployed, like, that's when it's going to be a lot harder to ignore.
Yeah.
Have either of you seen Ex Machina?
No, I have not yet. I've heard good things, but I have not
haven't
gotten
seen it
around
either.
to it.
Talk about it next segment. Give it a go.
Okay. Okay.
Is it pretty good?
Ex Machina is a wonderful movie. It's it seemed like it was kind of billed as the next 2001: A Space Odyssey. I know Interstellar was supposed to be that.
Interstellar was dumb. I'm just gonna.
Interstellar.
I heard the visuals were pretty fantastic.
I mean, yeah, but it was typical Nolan-esque. Like, I'm going to dump a lot of exposition on you in lieu of a plot, and I'm going to just have a lot of like science in lieu of actually having interesting ideas.
Well, what about Ex Machina? was it all
I'm
science?
sorry, I don't like Christopher Nolan. I'm sorry.
Basic premise of Ex Machina is there is an employee of the equivalent of Google. It's called Blue Book, not the car value thing. That controls 94% of web searches are through Blue Book, and the founder of Blue Book is this crazy, hilarious kind of hipster genius that is creating artificial intelligence. All the ads for this movie, most of it focused on how big of an event artificial intelligence is going to be in the future, AI for short. He builds this robot, and the main character is testing the robot to see whether or not he can tell that he's talking to a robot, while still seeing that it is a robot. It's this weird convergence of human and machine. Anyway, it's a thriller, it's a slasher, it's a weird artsy thing. There's an excellent dance sequence. I highly recommend it.
Yes. No, that's a big part. Have you ever seen Blade Runner?
No.
There's a big part in Blade Runner where they're trying to determine, there's a series of questions that they ask a robot to determine if it's a robot.
Yeah,
and
the Skinner test, or not the Skinner test, the Turing test.
The Turing test, yes.
Yeah, and like there's a part if they feel essentially sympathy for like a wounded animal is one of the questions. It's also made fun of hilariously in the R.I.P.D., which is this dumb Jeff Bridges movie based on a comic book, where they ask this ghoul like if they're going to get Indian food. If the ghoul says no, then it's clearly a spawn of Satan. Which I actually appreciate that more than the actual riff in the Blade Runner. But
Anyway.
I'm going to have to check that out. It sounds pretty great.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
I don't know if
Check
it's still
that
in
out.
theaters, but
I don't think it is, but I'm sure we can find it somewhere.
you should.
Not illegally.
Well, it's been an hour. We've run out of topics in the topic had.
Yep. So I'm just gonna say that we're done for the night.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. This segment will return, however, probably in a less looser and ridiculous fashion.
Or maybe in an
will
equally
return.
ridiculous fashion. We'll see.
You'll have
It's
to
all
tune in.
very loose, and who knows?
And I want to thank Michael for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
I want to thank Ben for letting me come on the show. I also want to thank John for letting me come here.
Hey, I want to thank you for coming.
And we want to thank you, listeners, for listening, which is not as weird.
I like making you uncomfortable.
All right, we will see you all next week. Goodbye.
I love you.